This is the Capital Improvement Plan meeting, August 6, 2015. And we have some new members this evening. We have, if you could all go around and introduce ourselves.
Okay, Judy Ryan. I've been a member, this is my last year.
I hope not.
Oh, no, we're going to recruit you again.
Dan Smith from the Budget Committee.
Hi, Dan.
Tony Weinstein from the Town Council.
Roseanne Cox, I was a member at large, but now I'm a planning board rep.
Diane Hardy, I'm the town planner
And coordinator.
and coordinator of the CIP committee. Thank you.
Russ Simon, member at large.
And we have in the audience tonight, cheering squad, Christine. Okay, and Al Zink is a member representing the school board. He is upstairs in a meeting. He's got a conflict, so he's excused. And was that it for members? Let me see, Al Zink? Yeah, yeah, that was
And
it.
Jane Ford said that she had a family issue come up, so she wasn't able to come this
Okay,
evening.
she's
but
the alternate to the
she's
planning
the
board,
alternate
Jane
to the
Ford.
planning board.
All right, very good. Okay, now on the agenda this evening, we have, first of all, introductions, and we're going to do the election of the chair and vice chair this evening. That's number 2 on the agenda.
Yes. And I just wanted to refer everyone to the rules of procedure that talks about who the officers are. And we have a chair, we have a vice chair, and a CIP coordinator. And the first 2 are appointed annually by the majority vote of the committee members. So would be, I guess, looking for some nominations.
Yes.
Would you like me to see if I could? Mr. Zink wanted to participate in this
Oh,
section.
sure.
Sure.
Do you mind if I run upstairs? and-
Absolutely.
Okay, Christine, would you? That'd be nice, thank you kindly.
Okay. Now, I don't know, Diane, if the new members have any copies of the rules of procedures.
I sent out a
Online.
packet to everyone
You did? Okay,
with the
great.
rules of procedure. And
Great.
what we do is, every year, we revisit them, see if we're all comfortable with the contents, if we want to change a few things. Sometimes we just tweak a few items, and then formally adopt them. You can adopt them at the same meeting at which they're amended, I believe.
Yep. And
And
if any RSA have been implemented to make changes that we're legally obligated
Right.
to do, so.
And there have been no changes to the CIP statute that I'm aware of, so I think we're okay with that. And here he is.
And here's Mr. Zink to participate in the election of officers.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
You have one of those Star Trek dematerializers? That was, you were told you were in the upper echelons.
So Russ made a motion.
I'd like to nominate Rosie Quox for chair.
Okay,
I will second.
okay, Al Zink, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No nays, okay. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Christine. Okay, so it was unanimous, and I'd like to nominate Russ Simon as vice chair. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? None? Unanimous? Okay, so we have, and I'd like to make a motion to nominate Diane Hardy, the town planner, as our coordinator. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I would,
Let's go home.
Roseanne, I was wondering if this year I could enlist your help with the minutes like we did
Oh,
last year?
again, yes, absolutely, we have a ball doing those.
We have we have it down pat.
We do.
We can polish them off in a couple of hours.
Yes,
and
yeah. The only thing
proofread
that's
it
missing is
and-
a few cocktails, but we don't need
Right.
any, we get so
But we have a
silly.
few laughs along the way.
You have them
so-
in town meeting, in the town offices, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is in the planning office, so
Yeah, oh, we do have a good time getting those
it's a
together.
dry town.
What
They
does
put
the
a bar
coordinator
on the
do?
school floor.
I'm sorry.
What does the coordinator do?
Basically, I help get the agendas together. I make sure the minutes get done, file them with the town clerk. There's many times a request for information, especially when Mr. Simon's here. So I do some running and try to do some research and get back to the committee. Coordinate with Christine upstairs and
Legal information.
provide legal information. And it's my charge to get the job done and so that we meet our statutory and charter requirements. And
She's
so we
the
have something
communicator
by...
between us and the rest of the building and the school board.
Perfect, so,
She does
and
a
I
lot.
do a
Good
lot of,
role,
and I do the grunt work.
Roseanne, I'm the chair of the search committee, and we've got a search committee
Oh, okay.
presentation going on. so-
You're excused.
You're
You go
excused.
back upstairs.
Thank you,
All
Al,
right,
for
thanks for
coming
coming
down.
down, I
Nice to
appreciate
see
it.
you.
Thank you.
Help us find a good superintendent, guys.
Yeah, very good.
Take all suggestions.
Okay. So now, we could go over the rules of procedure.
Okay. That would be great, if you would like to.
I think I have, we did tweak them last year, so they're pretty current.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone, because we did have to make some changes because of the
Charter.
charter.
Charter,
And those,
right.
and these rules of procedures, I believe, reflect the changes that we had to make
Last
in
year.
regards to that last year.
Yep.
I didn't see anything, I don't know if anyone else saw anything that they would recommend for a change.
No, other than taking note that as a result of your pushing last year, the CIP expanded from a 2-month process, I think, which it's been in the past, to trying to meet regularly and look at a lot of the issues rather than just responding to the presentations of the department
Yeah.
heads and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I have a
Plus, we
lot
had
of,
the school for the first time, which took several meetings last year to try to get that started.
yep. It started. Okay, all right, so rules of procedures are fine, and no changes. Now, the process, Diane, you had changes to the application form?
Well, not so much the application form, but we do have an instruction manual of sorts that we send out to the department heads, and I've gone through, I've actually found some editorial changes that need to be made, but I also wanted you to read this so that everybody was on board with what the process is and what the definitions are.
The instruction
And-
manual?
Yep. And this is something that I will, and hopefully if we can reach some agreement on dates and so forth, we'll be sending out a letter to all department heads tomorrow under the town administrator's signature.
That's-
We'll attach this, and, you know, we'll be requesting that they get their CIPs into us. And I'm suggesting, like, the 2nd of September, so that we'll have plenty of time to, so we'll have enough time to review them. We won't have an
That's going-
overabundance of time,
That'll
but,
go out to the school board as well.
and it will go out to the school board and any committees. For instance, in years past, the Veterans Committee had CIP requests. There might be other groups that might have an interest, the Cemetery Committee,
The library?
the library.
Yep.
So, but we try to, you know, give people at least 3 to 4 weeks to get their proposals together. And, you know, in the interim, I work with people to fine-tune stuff if they don't understand how to do it, and help them fill out the forms and that kind of thing, so I can help provide some technical assistance to the other department heads. At this point, everybody's pretty familiar with what the drill is,
Mm-hmm.
so.
And did the new members get a copy of this? You have that, you
hear
got
me?
it,
Yeah.
okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
So the
Thanks,
CIP
Chris.
this group
Yes.
needs to submit its information to
The budget committee.
The town, ad-
Budget committee
no,
by-
no, the town administrator.
Town
And
administrator.
he
And that's
submits
why
it
we
to
have
them.
an October 1st deadline.
October 1st. So it's a
It's-
pretty tight
It is, and
timeframe.
we're starting a little bit earlier this year. I think our
We
first meeting was...
we started early last year, too, because we had the request out to the department heads in August
Yeah,
last year.
we did.
Yep,
So we're
and we're
about,
doing it again.
we're just about in the same time
That's because
schedule.
of the March deadline, and it gives the
Yeah.
time for the the administrator and for the town council to review that.
Yep, right.
I mean, in the past, Tony, it has gone to November, which was, then, we were under the gun, really, to get it
Right.
done.
Do we need them to amend the rules of practice, because they don't really make any mention of the town administrator? They're just talking about a report to the town council and the budget committee.
In the,
It was emailed out earlier today.
you're talking about the instruction manual?
No, the CIP rules of procedure,
oh,
the
the
very
bylaws.
last page of it.
Yep. It says town council, okay, so
Yeah.
maybe we should change that to, it's submitted to the town administrator first, and then he goes through it and makes changes oftentimes before it ends up before the council.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
little
So-
bizarre in the process.
Yeah. And
Department
I,
heads come to us, but the town administrator may end up having his thoughts at the same time. We look at it, we make a recommendation, it goes back to the town administrator, who can then change it at his discretion, which it often is, and then gives that to the town council. They vote on that, and then that becomes part of the town's presentation to the budget committee. So the CIP really has no interface with the budget committee other than having a...
Is there a parallel track for the schools, or?
There was, well, last year was the first time the school ever tried to participate in CIP. And so the question was, in the past, the school has usually done warrant articles for capital items. The town used to have it as part of the operating budget. And then last year, if you remember, was the exception when they changed the town charter, and we had to vote on 15 of these things or whatever.
Which will change this year, correct? Because
I
with
think
the
they're putting
votes
it
that
back
we-
in the
we
operating
did
budget
it in March.
again.
Yeah.
So it's funded out of the operating budget. So there wasn't any specific warrant articles on funding a CIP last year. It was the usual of whatever the warrant articles the school put forward.
Okay. Just seems like if the school's going to participate, there ought to be a similar track.
Right.
Well, that's what we tried to coordinate
Oh,
it, so
right.
that everything at the end would dovetail, so we'd have information that could be presented through the budget process. And I got some feedback from the town administrator this year, and he'd like to have us work on the presentation of the CIP. And there's an example that he's given us from the city of Somersworth, where they have actually provided a little booklet with all nice color pictures, with all the budget forms and some, the financial data. And this is something that is available for the public and also for other, the town council and the budget committee. So it'll be my goal to put something like this together. And also, I think it would be helpful if this committee participated in the budget process, in the sense of when we have our public hearings at the town council level as well as at the school board level, that the recommendations be presented and the rationale for them, so that everybody has an understanding of what is being proposed for CIP projects for the coming year. So we're going to work on that this year as well.
and also, if you look under Chapter 674, the RSA 674-5, the purpose of the CIP committee is to prepare things to the sole purpose and effects of the capital improvements program shall be to aid the mayor and/or selectmen. So it's an aid for them to know.
The
And of course,
governing body, in our case, the
the
town
governing
council.
council. The town council, so it states other things in the RSA.
Now, I can put together some information for the new members on the state RSAs, if you would like to do some light reading, if you're having trouble sleeping. It works wonders. But that will give you sort of the statutory framework of why we do a CIP and what's supposed to be in it. It really has a planning orientation as opposed to a budgeting tool per se, looking at long-term needs of the community over a 6-year period. So I can put some information together for you, Judy. If you probably have the stuff I gave you last year, I'm happy to.
Oh, yeah, I have a whole file.
Okay. Russ, would you like a packet too, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't I'll put something together next
Yeah.
week and send it out to everyone.
Great.
Essentially, there's no real power. All we're
an
ending up is
advisory.
making a recommendation on what the funding should be into one of the funds, or all of the various trust funds. And then it's still up to the town council. When a specific asset is going to be purchased, they'll discuss that, and usually they'll use the CIP money or not out of the operating budget.
Yeah, and to just give you an idea of how Steve in the CIP board handles it, I'll read into the record what Steve Fournier, the town administrator, sent out to everybody last year. And it was August 18, 2014, to all department heads in Newmarket School District. In conjunction with the Capital Improvement Committee, we are beginning the Capital Improvement Program process. A list of your specific capital projects envisioned for the planning period is needed for the CIP. As you know from years past, state law requires, as part of the process, that all municipal departments and school district boards and related agencies provide a list of capital projects they intend to undertake during the term of the CIP. The attached forms, which is what Diane gets ready for us to send to the departments, the attached forms provide worksheets to assist in your response. We will be strictly adhering, and especially this year, strictly adhering to the deadlines. If you do not submit your forms by the deadlines, we will be submitting your projects from last year. Please provide the recommendations for specific capital projects to be undertaken and cost estimates. Please resubmit, this is what you had mentioned earlier, Russ. Please resubmit any capital requests made in previous years so we can do a comparison, amending them to reflect current needs, financing options, or with additional comments. If the project is eligible for any federal or state grants, matching funds or loans, please indicate this in the form. This year, the form has been modified to include a general project description and a justification as to how this expenditure will improve service, production, and lower operating cost. As you know, the CIP is an advisory document only. The inclusion of any particular project on your list does not commit the town to that expenditure. So that kind of synopsizes exactly what
Yeah.
we do in the process that we take to get it done. Okay. All righty.
Do we want to talk a little bit about our internal process? Last year, we tried to streamline things by having one day set aside for all the presentations from the departments, and we had a really tight schedule. I think it was like 15 minutes per department, and we actually met our goal of getting it all done in one day, but it was a long day. There had been some feedback from last year's CIP committee that, maybe we should break it up more. And in years past, we used to go out and do tours of the different facilities so that people could become familiar with what the Public Works Department has in way of equipment. What is the wastewater treatment plant? Where is it located? And how, it's just to give people sort of a general orientation of what the town has for facilities. So when we're talking about
I think we actually asked that for the first time last year, didn't we, to get a list of all the
Yes.
buildings and
Right.
everything? that were-
And
List of all the
that's
buildings.
right,
Yeah.
to kind of have an
Which is-
overview of, which
We
we
didn't
now
get a
have.
chance to visit, but we at least got the
No,
list.
So-
we got the information.
I guess
last
I
year,
would
though.
ask, and Roseanne, I don't want to.
Yeah, actually, I
Ask
had,
if people want to do that again this year.
yes, as a matter of fact, that was part of my notes, that I wanted to do that once Steve gets the letter out, if the committee can coordinate with the department heads to tour their facilities. And I'm wondering if we have a camera would take good pictures so we could catalog and create a baseline, because you always hear at the council level, Tony, that I wish this was in the CIP. I wish we knew the buildings we had. And this is the list of all the assets. A lot of it is sewer and water lines.
Yeah.
But to visit prior to the department heads coming in, we'd like to visit their departments, take pictures, take a tour, ask questions, maybe even use the rec bus to take us all around. If we're
We've
going to
done that.
visit 3 or 4 different areas in one time, we can all go together. And for some of the town properties that are here and there, whatever department head is in charge of them, it could be some that Mr. Fournier, the town administrator, might want to go with us, is to visit those as well, so we could get a good idea of what needs maintenance, what doesn't, the state the buildings are in, so we can see what kind of money we should put aside, and as well as the schools as well, and just tour everything in town and try to do that. I know the town council started implementing that with the vehicles, because they would come before for resolution for money for vehicles, and the town council wanted to know the year of the car, how much maintenance, how many miles, what it's used for, and it helps them make some good decisions. And we'd like to do that with the properties that the town owns as well. I think it would just help us as a board, and then help the town council when they have to make recommendations to spend money, and it would help the department heads to know what to ask for. So I thought that would be, and, try to start that as soon as possible.
Well, I guess, is that something we could do during the day? I know some people are constrained, they can only come to an evening meeting.
Yeah,
But it really is,
Something during the day you'd have to. I'm flexible for the next 3 weeks every day, except for when school starts, only Tuesdays and Thursdays during the day. So I don't know who else is. Are you flexible, Tony?
I'm pretty flexible,
Yeah,
as long as I have enough notice.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if I have a week to 10 days notice.
sure,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, if we set a schedule, except for Thursdays for me right now.
Okay, except for Thursdays for.
And I think it was important to do this sooner rather than later.
Yes,
Yep.
I mean, even before the departments put in their requests.
yes,
Okay.
Because I think we could go back and look and say, oh, well, they're requesting this, but what about this other thing that we saw?
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And that's the whole purpose of it, to
So-
see where the money would be better spent, or where the money is needed,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay. Can we back up a minute?
Sure.
I was listening, but I wasn't writing things down. Okay, so we want to do the tours probably before the 15th of September?
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense? Okay. And we said Tuesdays would be a good day, but Thursdays are not for
The only
Judy.
time for me that I cannot do is on Thursdays.
Okay.
Okay, so Tuesdays, Wednesdays are okay?
We could do it after, like, 3 o'clock on Wednesdays, within another 3 weeks, because then I'm back to work.
Okay. So if we got them all done by the 15th? When do you work? Tuesdays and
start-
Thursdays?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay, so Tuesday
Mhm.
and Wednesdays. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, so Wednesday's not good, so Tuesday's the best day.
Unless we do Wednesday in the afternoon.
Okay.
Okay?
Rosie, when we got the list of buildings and stuff.
Can you speak into the mic, honey? I don't
Oh,
know if she's
sorry.
going to hear
When
you.
we got the list of buildings last year, I know we didn't spend any real time on it. We just sort of got it at the end of the process.
Yeah.
Do we know which department is responsible for each of the different buildings and listings that are there?
Yeah.
I'd like to get that, even if it takes 5 minutes, I'd like the departments to say, and I'm responsible for this real estate and building, I don't need anything, or, gee, now that we thought about it, we could use a new roof or things of that nature, because that's rarely come up in the past, and,
I don't know,
so I don't know if we can
Would that
ask
be something we
Diane or
could ask?
Or
Steve.
maybe Steve or
I think
Matt
s-
Angel.
Matt Angel might be able to, I could sit down with the list and go over that. And
I think that literally after looking at that report, it's either Public Works or water and
Oh,
sewer.
water and sewer.
Yeah, most
a
of it.
couple
And
of the
most-
library and,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's some oddballs in there which
Yeah.
people could identify.
There's also some
We could go through
town-owned,
that list and look at it and say, well,
okay.
that's why I think Steve or Matt should be able to,
All
at
right,
least
I
quick.
can,
There's some
Yeah.
other real estate that we may have taken on as a result of tax deficiencies or other purchases as well.
could be.
Yeah.
Um,
So if we
The
could ask
land that we
Steve,
got the new well on. you
yeah,
know,
if
was
we could
a-
ask Steve to categorize which department head is responsible for the different parcels listed in the active assets of the town.
okay.
That wouldn't take a lot of time to just
Yeah,
put a
I'll-
note
yeah.
next to it. you
Okay.
know,
I'll see if I can get
WS or,
some information out of
PW.
everyone.
And now, Diane, from last year, you said submit forms via U-Drive. Are you going to do it that same way
Yeah,
this year?
and that's really, internal.
Uh-huh.
the town server, there's a general server, it's called the U file, and
Okay.
we have it set up, there's a file there for CIPs each year, and the department heads can then put their materials on that file so that we all, well, in the town, we have access to the information. And that way, if another department wants to look at it, they can.
Mhm.
So my thought was that, we'll try to give people, if I get it out tomorrow, September 2nd,
Yeah,
which
that's-
is a Wednesday.
September 2nd, which is a Wednesday.
That's for them to
Okay.
get it in,
To
right?
get it into the town administrator for his request. And then it's really, we can get the forms out to people as soon as possible. So I was saying, maybe by the end of that first week in September, I could get the forms out to everyone.
Okay, so you're talking September 2nd for Steve to send the letter out?
No, we're going to send out the letter tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
We're going to give people till September 2nd to get their CIPs to us,
Okay.
and put them on the U drive.
Okay.
I will review them.
It's just,
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Christine,
interrupt. I
I'm
was just
sorry.
waiting for you to finish, Dan. The school district doesn't have access to the U Drive.
Okay.
So what is your preferred format you'd like us
If
to
you
submit
could
it?
just email them to me, that would be
Email?
fine.
Okay. So a Word document or
And I
Excel is
will
okay?
put them on the U file if that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's public information, whatever.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
sure.
thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so the goal is to get everything out to the committee by the end of the first week in September. And, during that timeframe, we'll be doing the tours perhaps. We'll
Mhm.
nail down those dates. And I guess the question is, once we've toured the facilities, we'd like to set up the presentations. And do we want to try to attempt doing it in one day, like we did last time? And then if we run out of time, we need a second date, we can have a fallback date?
Do you think we might need more time this year because of us seeing all the buildings? We're going to have a lot more to discuss? How long did it take us last time?
We started at 1 o'clock and we ended at 5, and I think maybe it was 5:30 by the time we cleared out.
I mean, if the board members would rather just do it,
I guess I'm maybe a little unsure of what the purpose of the CIP touring. I mean, I understand that it's great to know what we have available to us, but the CIP, this group isn't going to make recommendations to the department heads, or
No, but
we're just going to evaluate
the-
recommendations that the department
The
bring
department
to
heads
us.
are, as we review
that-
the materials, there'll be questions that arise,
Right, sure.
and we need to have the access to the department head to be able to answer those questions.
we do
So I
make a
think-
recommendation. It may not be listened to, but the recommendation comes from, the recommendation comes from CIP and goes back to the town administrator.
Right.
And has, most of the numbers do change.
I understand that part. I want to make sure that we're not going to, so Rick comes in and says, here are my CIP projects. That we don't then say, well, what about the roof on the Public Works building? Why isn't that in there? I don't know. I want to understand what our role is.
Your role is to review the requests made by the department
Okay.
heads. Their role is to, like a budget, their role is to present,
But
the
that
dollars
question
and
wouldn't-
cents,
I don't
the
think that
cost
question would be
estimates.
irrational to say, what about the roof? Have you taken that into consideration? Because the answer should be, yes, I did, and there's nothing that has to be done with it. If that leads into a discussion, that's fine.
because, I mean, as you know, if you have buildings in disrepair that are not maintained properly, it ends
Oh,
up
absolutely.
costing more money. And, just for us to know what really what we could visualize and see that needs repair. So when they come in, just like the farms have justification, I mean, they can't just come in and ask for anything, there's justification. And we might see justification for something other than what they're asking for.
I think the other point on this is that we're not looking at what needs to be done this year. We're looking
Right.
at the future. So if the roof has to be repaired in 25 years, we want to make sure that X number of dollars at the end of whatever period it might be are there for
Right.
them to do that, so that it isn't a one-time hit. That's to me, that's the whole purpose of this, is to look at the future. If we need a new fire truck, well, how much is, we could probably guess how much it's going to cost in 15 years, but we should have the cash there in order to do it, so that you don't come into a budget committee and say, we need, you know.
And it has to be something that's at least $10,000
Yeah.
and is going to, you know, and maybe
It's for equipment,
for equipment and, you know,
50,000 for the
and
project.
50,000, because some of the buildings are so big, they'll do a roof in sections. So
Yeah.
we can put so much money aside. So this way, we don't have to hit the town up for a lot of money at once. We make sure we're putting that money aside for what's needed.
I think there was,
Just to the question on the table, my preference would be to shoot for the one-day exercise.
Okay.
Set the expectation for brevity, and then when
Yeah.
it invariably
I agree.
comes off the rails, at least the expectation was there to begin with, and, you know, that'd be my preference anyway. And then if it
Okay.
winds up taking until 6 or 7 o'clock, then it winds up taking till 6 or 7 o'clock. But at least you've set a
Done.
goal of
Done.
making this
So have
a
a-
reasonable exercise and not a complete trip down the rabbit
Right.
hole.
And have a placeholder date in mind in case you run
Fair
over,
enough,
you need
yeah.
that second date.
I think the other issue that's come up in discussion, and I don't know what you guys have spoken to people around town, is the CIP historically seems to have been the place where, yeah, we'll put some thoughts down, that's nice, but we don't want the taxes to go up, so let's reduce the funding on CIP. So we're not sitting on a large pile of money for emergency purposes. And I think that's short-sighted of the town. The second issue is what the priorities are. And, you know, with the stage 3 water emergency, you know, what is the most important and where is that? And are people directed against that? You have McAllen Dam, so priorities can change. But I think at least one of the places I'm coming from is I'd like to think long-term planning and that we're putting some seed money. The concern I have is the way the RSAs, Rosie tells me they are, because I try not to read them because they confuse me so much, is that we need a separate capital fund for every single thing we do. Okay, there's not a
No.
general capital fund where we can
Yeah.
sit back and say, oh gee, I want to do the dam, I want to do some road repair, I want to do something in the school. The answer is no. You need to have, the school may need, and as it has now 6 funds, it may have, you know, may require as they get into CIP having 12 different funds for equipment and technology and this and that. So it makes it a little less flexible.
Okay. All right, so we decided to do it all in one day.
Yep.
That'll be good.
And can we hone in on a couple of dates? I'm looking at the third week of September. The 15th and, well, the 17th you said was bad. How
When's
about
our
the
deadline?
15th and the 16th? Their deadline or ours?
Ours to,
Ours is October 1st.
we need to finish and get our recommendations in by.
Right, and what I'd like to do is say, you know, have a meeting for final deliberations and putting the recommendations together, and for the new people, what we do is put together a spreadsheet of all the projects by department, and we show previous activity in the capital reserve account, and I can send that around to everyone as well, just so you'll have an idea. And then there's a column that gives the CIP's recommendations, and then it breaks it up into 6 years rather, because again, it's a long-range plan, and the idea is to spread the costs out over a reasonable amount of time, so there's not a spike in any particular year.
Now, wasn't 10-1 just for the town? Because I thought we ended up doing the school after we did the town, because you guys didn't need to finalize things until either late
Yeah,
in the
that's
year or
what-
January or something like that. So I don't
And
know if we
it
have
was
a-
new for them last year, too.
Right.
Now they're experts in the process.
I just don't know whether we have a date.
Well, are we going to have to do something like we did last year, Christine, and come back after you've made your decisions with your school board and you've set your budget in place pretty much, then we would come back here and have a special
Yeah.
presentation just for the schools? I think that's what we did last year.
I have here for between John Radigan and Steve Fournier, the town, John Radigan's the town attorney. The school and town are on different timelines. We follow the town charter. which requires us to hold a public hearing 25 days prior to the deliberative session.
Right. So we met after our final
Yeah.
recommendations for the
And the
CIP
school
for the
follows
town.
SB 2 law, which requires that they hold a public hearing before the second Tuesday in January.
Correct.
So he gave us a schedule of the times and all that. Yeah, but by October 15th, it says town administrator must submit budget to town, so we have to have it into him by the 1st, so he can go over it and get it to the town budget by
Right.
the 15th.
Well, that's the town side of look at it.
That's the town side.
The school,
We
I
might
don't
have to
know.
Those are
work out a
separate
special
Yeah,
schedule with
I can
you.
tell you that September 17th is roughly the time that I'll be presenting the operating budget to the school board. That will be the first day that they will
Okay.
see it.
Well, and
So that will be the first round, so.
well, that's the,
And would you,
And then we start our work sessions quickly following that.
has the school board figured out whether it's going to do what the town does, which is put part of the funding of the capital projects in the operating budget, or is it going to continue to work as warrant articles, which is effectively how you guys fund the various?
That's correct. The school district typically will fund capital improvement plans through a warrant article, list them out individually, so that they're not part of the operating budget. We don't have a lot of capital improvement projects because we're more supplies and textbooks and goods and services, and we're an education service, so we're not into vehicles like the town is. So typically our capital improvement plans sometimes will fall under the threshold of our operating budget. So our repair and maintenance trust fund is typically something that we would utilize, or we would use the general fund to do like a roof repair or
Little things
something of
like
that.
the new school
Yep.
or the restored school, minor projects and stuff.
Correct. Yeah, we would put on a warrant article, something that would be larger, like a repavement of the Newmarket Elementary School, which is one of our items that you saw last year. New windows.
New
But-
boilers.
New
we're trying to
boilers.
Get the
Yeah.
school to think of things.
But if it's done that way, and I'm not sure it's a question, if it's done that way and the school doesn't put it in through a CIP, because I was trying to find it, but if the school doesn't have the CIP, then they can't use their impact fees. That's
The
the
impact
reason
fees.
why we asked them to come in last year and to establish a CIP with us,
Hadn't
with the
prevented them
town.
in using them in the past, but yeah, that was.
So if they do a warrant article for a specific item, and it's not under CIP, and then they want to use impact fees to do that, if they got a warrant article on it and it's not under the CIP, are they still entitled to the impact fees for that project?
we're supposed to have a CIP from the schools
Right.
to meet the statutory requirements. And
And I-
we've done this in years past by just simply, we sent up a letter this is when Kathleen Murphy was here, we sent up a letter saying, please provide us with your CIP for the next 6 years. And she had a report at that time that had just been completed, and she attached that, and that was the school CIP, and no one ever questioned whether there was one, and that's what we
I think as long as we
accepted it as.
participate.
What's
and
that?
I think as long as we participate and have a plan, something may arise that could be unexpected that we can't forecast or predict, and then that could drive us there. So I'd hate to say, to be bound by.
Right, but I would
the
look
warrant.
at, if you're thinking of capital improvement program, I would tend to think the decision on renovating the school or building a new school is certainly a capital item as well as replacing boilers. So I don't
Correct.
think anything has to be necessarily under, the school had 8 funds last year?
We have 6.
6? And some of them we decided were capital, and some of them weren't necessarily capital. There was a technology fund, there was a maintenance fund.
Special education.
Yeah, there's a
fund.
But I
special
think we're
education.
talking about deadlines here and dates,
Yes.
Right.
and
I guess
it clearly, and as I recall, we went through the town CIP, and at a later date, in order to meet the deadline for the school presentation, it was done later
Right.
at the
Yes.
time.
Right.
And there were several meetings, which is,
They were very helpful.
appropriate
Yeah.
as we went through the requests. But what we need now is the dates for the town, not the dates for the school.
And we'll work the other
So that's the 10-1.
schedule
right.
out with Christine.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
Christine, you said the 17th was good or the 15th? Because you
No.
put down
17th, I thought.
Our goal is to present to the school board the budget either the 17th or the 23rd of September.
Okay.
So, but we'll be prepared for any date that you give
Okay.
us.
Okay. All right.
Diane, you were asking about dates during that week, the week of the 14th.
Yeah,
I'm unavailable on Wednesday, the 16th.
okay, so that's what about, and you're not
Any other
available
day, I'm good.
Tuesday.
No, I am available on Tuesdays.
Okay,
The 15th or the 17th would be my preference.
The fif-
Mondays are awful, Fridays are awful, work-wise.
okay.
The 15th would work for me,
Will
doing
work for
to,
you, but the 17th will
to-
not.
unfortunately, well, fortunately or
maybe
unfortunately
we'll-
travel dates.
Okay, so let's plan it for the 15th. Russ, you're okay?
Departmental review?
And then,
I don't
I mean, we
carry
could
it.
even do it the following
That's a Tuesday.
Monday.
Is that a Tuesday?
If we had to have a second meeting, we could do
Yes.
it the following Monday, which I have my calendar here, which would be the 21st. Could that be our fallback date if we?
22nd, I said
Okay, yeah.
Mondays are.
All right, let's
atrocious
do that
for
then.
me.
And that's for the town side.
Yep.
We have a little more time. Hey, do you have your capital, you don't have the warrant articles and things like that drafted by September, do you?
No,
Okay.
December.
So, I don't, you guys more than us, I think, have to say, here's the last date we need to, I think that's what happened last year. I think we ended up in January last year. What was our last meeting?
Could've been.
January 12th or something like that?
Okay, presentation. So we're going to have the presentation.
It was new, so I wish we had answers, but we're kind of.
Presentation.
Let me look at last year's calendar, I'll let you know.
Yeah. So we're going to have presentation to us
On the 15th.
on the 15th of September.
And-
What kind of a time frame are we looking at? You mentioned 1 to 5. You did
Well,
it
that's
last
what we
year?
did last year. We could do it even earlier. You know, we could do it 12 to 5 if,
And what day does the 15th fall on?
the 15th is a Tuesday.
Tuesday. Very good. Okay. And then the fallback will be the 22nd,
Yep,
which is the Tuesday after.
yep.
And
22nd, not 21st, okay.
And then between that date, the 22nd, and the 1st, we should probably schedule another meeting to do our final deliberations and put
And
together the
recommendations.
recommendations. So, I mean, since Tuesday seems to be a good day, let's
Yeah.
try for the
We do this
29th.
the 29th?
And,
And if we finish on the 15th and decide to meet on the 22nd and the
Okay.
29th, that's up to us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and if we have to schedule something in between, I just
Yeah.
want to be able to give people
Get some
kind of,
dates.
get some dates set up so that people can reserve the time and
Okay. And then,
work it into their
and once
schedules.
we finish that final recommendation, then we can, we'll have it ready and we'll just submit to the town administrator.
Right,
Right, then
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
do the school as part two.
right. The actual,
And then we can do the school sometime after the 17th, she said, which would be good. She'll have everything ready.
yes. And the actual report might take a little bit longer because we'll have to do, you know, put it together and there's some text that will be added and
Now, this
so that
is
might
from-
not be available until actually when the budget process starts for the town, which is November 1st. Does that make sense?
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because these are almost similar to the forms that you put out, but we didn't get any pictures last year, remember? And these all have the
One picture.
pictures.
The
Yeah.
police chief gave us a picture.
I think Mike finally.
One of his
Mike took
cruisers.
a couple pictures of the school buildings and sent them in on one copy.
Do we have any photographers in the group that would like to help me with the pictures?
Sure.
I can do some,
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
Do you have a camera?
Do that as
Good
well.
one.
All
So,
right.
between Dan
Super.
and I, we'll carry cameras.
Okay, no, that's great.
We'll get it in stereo.
And by the way, I didn't mean, if you want me to pass that
Oh,
around?
yeah, take a
so
look
you
at
can-
that new format of, so
Um,
Steve requested that we present it to
That's
him
great.
like that. It would
Yeah,
be
he
helpful.
seemed to like that format, and
Okay.
Is that,
It's in a
can you
form-
send that out in an email so that we
he
could?
has it electronically, yeah.
Yeah.
I can send it,
Okay.
sure.
It would be great, too, to get a copy of that
The assets.
No, the other one, the other.
Oh, this
form
here,
that you
yes,
had.
Diane said she was
I'm
gonna.
going to send
Yeah,
that
that would
spreadsheet
be
last
great.
So the
year's.
assets would be nice as well.
Yeah, so a copy of
And the
the
assets.
copy of the
And
assets.
the RSA's.
One last thing to that, I know you're just, but how about all the funds we have at the moment and what the balances are?
Oh, yeah.
I think the last thing we had
Yep.
was,
I
over a
have
year.
that from last year.
Can we do the same with the school?
Now, what about forecasting? Are we gonna have any of the departments give us a forecast as to what could be coming down the road? I know I hear
We're
a lot.
supposed to do a 5-year plan.
Well, this is supposed to be a 6-year plan.
Yeah,
So as
6-year
part of
plan.
this exercise, they need to do a forecast.
Yep.
What are their capital needs going to be
Yep.
over the next 6 years? And put a plan together to fund it.
List all
That's
funds.
the goal.
And, yeah, this is great, Tony, because this tells you what was requested and approved in previous years, so you can get an idea.
Yeah, and it,
Requesting a document like that. so
Yeah.
it'd be nice to
and it will
have.
also tell us how much money is available in the capital reserve fund
Yeah.
already.
For
So
each
we know how much we
category.
have in the savings account, and this is how much more we need
Yep.
to be able to make the expenditure.
Seemed to be one of the places we spent a lot of time last year saying, is there enough for a rainy day already in here that's going unused, and maybe we don't need to fund? Because we're not looking to buy assets, we're looking to add, what's the recommendation to add to that fund? The actual expense and what gets charged to that is not committed to, it's really up to the town council and the school board what they decide to spend and whether they use those funds to do it.
Okay. All righty, so we got the schedule set.
Can we talk a minute about the forms? Go back to
Sure,
the...
back to the forms.
Just, I'm going to be making a few editorial changes, just for consistency's sake. It's actually, it's a 6-year plan, and our fiscal year covers fiscal year 16/17. So I'm going to have to change some of the dates here. It actually extends out to fiscal year '22, but it's fiscal year '21-22.
Okay.
So I need to make those changes, but do you have any questions on the forms?
No?
Or are there any additional materials or information you'd like to see on the forms?
Forms, Williams Enterprise.
No, Rick did one on building separately from equipment, and we still have that, right? There's two, I thought there were two forms. One was
He has a
equipment
building
related,
improvements
project or
and
something.
equipment and facilities.
So you just have to make that one change on the form,
Yep.
okay?
And I have had the hardest time getting this all to fit on one page. So it may have to be tweaked a little bit. There's a lot of information on this one form, but, so that's why everything is so small.
Because I know on my computer, if it's a big sheet and I go to print it, I can't figure it out how to get the whole thing. So I just ask for a hard copy in my mailbox.
Well, and what's been frustrating in years past is everybody likes to tweak the form their own way. So
Yeah.
you get the forms back where you try to do everything standardized, and you get the forms back and they're all different. So that's why there'll be some formatting that needs to be done for the final presentation.
And this is very, very similar, almost exact, to the forms that they were sent last year.
Right.
So they should be familiar with it from then. They had a little leeway last year because it was new, but, okay. Construction manual, final product,
Well, that's,
that would be
Yeah.
the,
and just, did you send that spreadsheet around so that they can see what?
you want to see
Yeah.
that spreadsheet. Now, this was, that's the asset, and that's the spreadsheets that we've had.
Maybe
So-
this is on here and I'm missing it, but on the form, are we asking them to tell us, I mean, if it's a major capital item, what the useful life of it is?
That's included in the equipment, I believe, or it used to be. Well,
Description.
they have to tell us what the year acquired and the replacement year. So, I mean, that's basically the life of the equipment, not the project, but the equipment. So in the first column, you have the year it was acquired, and then the year it needs to be replaced,
This is on the CIP form?
on
or
the equipment form,
On the okay.
which gets at the question of useful life of the equipment.
I think it's different pieces. When Rick comes in, he tends to have an inventory of his machines, which is part of his presentation, so we know what's 20 years old and what's 5 years old. And then he has the request, which says, after looking at the inventory, these look like the 2 or 3 things.
And- And he basically knows when he's going to need another piece of equipment. He knows the life expectancy of any of his equipment and how many miles and so forth and so on.
The
So-
school contracts out for maintenance, so beyond Rick and the police department, there are not a lot of vehicles or other assets. The rec department's changing, and trying to be more self-funding, so everything was sort of in motion, but I don't know, I'm not sure you look at swings or the rec building, like, who's in charge of the rec building? Is it Steve? And he's thinking about it, or the people running the rec program concerned about what the building is? We asked a lot of questions last year for the
Yeah.
first time. We didn't get a whole lot of.
Yep. All righty. Anything else, Diane, as
No, I think-
coordinator? I mean, I think
No, I
we're,
think
yeah.
we've covered everything, and, if there's questions that people have, I'm
Does
happy
anyone
to.
else?
I'm sorry.
Right. explain them.
Absolutely, no. Ask away.
So is there, like, I see on this spreadsheet that it has total amounts, but is there a document somewhere that says, okay, so in this amount, we've put away this much money for this project? Like, is there one document that, no?
Other than what they report to you on the forms,
And then
Okay.
our finance director can tell us how much has been spent and what's the
balance.
the balance in the report. Not necessarily for each item, but I think it is for each item. And how
Oh,
much
that's
is-
how-
it
That's
can
how they
be-
request funding, but the issue is that project that they're presenting to us is saying, here's the balance in this fund, here's what I'm planning on doing next year. I'd like you to, or the next 6 years, here's how much money I'd like you to contribute this year. When they're gonna pull the trigger on that project, like if you had a project out, if you said the McAllen Dam, I think we put in $50,000, just $25,000 over the first 2 years, saying we don't know what that's going to entail, but let's put away seed money so that the town council has $50,000 to spend in research or whatever, so they can come back with a plan. So I don't know if that answers your question, but just because we approve getting a new something doesn't mean they're going to actually come in and request that next year. It's more of, gee, we're asking you for $30,000 to add to the equipment fund of Public Works because we expect to replace this piece of equipment in 3 years.
Right, and I guess, and I that's what I'm getting at, is because even on the council side, I've asked, when these requests have come, so is there some narrative that explains, because they'll say, well, it's in our CIP.
Right.
Where's the CIP? Like,
Yeah.
That's the non-answer,
And,
yes.
and
yes,
that's
yes.
what I'm trying to understand,
Yeah.
is that process and how we put the money aside,
Mm-hmm.
that, and then, 2 years later, when they say, no, it's part of the plan, it was approved, where the.
this spreadsheet is an overview, it's a summary.
Okay.
Okay, and each of these items is backed up by the CIP form. So if you took all the
Okay.
Public Works Department CIP forms, all the projects, there might be 7 or 8, and you add them all up, it should come out to the amount that they're requesting. So you
Okay.
can go back to the forms, let's ask for the justification. Why do you need this? How will it improve productivity or lower expenses? Is this a replacement item?
We'll be compiling that into one document with this new
Well,
process, hopefully,
It's
At
going to
least an
have to
overview.
be somewhat generalized.
yeah.
But, also, they will come forward with their presentation, and in that presentation, they should be explaining to the committee, this is why we need this. and provide that
And what it's
justification.
used for,
And
and, yeah.
We need to ask those questions. Because, you know, and I'm looking at this, and each department is sort of different. Rick wanted to make some improvements in the roofs, and I don't know if that was a next year project. I need $100,000 to do the roof next year, or I see that happening in 4 years. We think it's going to cost $300,000, so as part of my request, let me put in a $75,000 a year for the next 4 years. So when we come to that fourth year, we have the $300,000 already in the fund to make that roof improvement. But not every department sort of does it that way. So ask the questions. I mean, that's,
We find it's a struggle to get people to think beyond the current year, to take a long-range look, because they're so used to just coming in every year with their annual budgets and defending them. But, you know, the idea is to encourage people to take a look at overall needs over time and come up with an overall plan to address those needs. So the idea being you don't have any spikes in any one year, and you're leveling out the costs.
I kind of look at this as maybe the town's conscious. Not everybody thinks beyond the 1 year. And so those issues that I think we bring up, that they may not be funded, but bringing them up at least to say, is it a reasonable thing to think about over the next 2 or 3 years?
No, it's just like putting money away for your kid's college fund. You know, you can expect how much you're gonna need to spend for your college, and, well, I've got X amount of time to do it. I've got to put so much aside in order to let this happen. It's the same thing. And this way, there's no surprises.
You want to pass down, this is last year's equipment budget that Rick submitted to us, and you can see the kind of detail that he has
And we never got that
documenting.
until us and the town council really asked for that information.
Right.
And that was a big help from the town council. They wanted that information.
And we cut it, and then I think Steve cut it further, and so, you know,
Yeah.
the number that ends up there is the,
Yeah, what we recommend, they don't necessarily get. So, you know, so, there's not enough money. Don't blame us. But, all right,
Okay.
any other business, or?
Well, I guess I will try to schedule some field trips
Some field trips, yep.
on
Check with
the
department
days that
heads
we
so
have,
can-
find out what days,
Yep,
and we'll try to get all those done by September 15th, so we can jump right into this next phase.
if, as you said, most of it's water and sewer, then, you know, having Sean show us around, we've been there. I'm assuming everybody's been there, but if you haven't, it's a worthwhile exercise.
Yeah.
Got a new plan,
yeah,
maybe, part of a new plan.
Yeah.
yeah, so it would be good just to refresh.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it'd be helpful to hear.
Me too, yep.
And these field trips are an opportunity for them to tell you what their ongoing projects are,
Mhm.
so that
Yeah.
you can fit that into the framework of what they need in the
Yeah.
future.
So
So-
basically,
good?
trying to set a schedule up for the site walk, so to speak.
Site walks.
Site walks.
I don't know about the recreation vehicle. That's something we might,
We used it before for something.
we?
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah,
think there was,
we were on there. Judy Carr was on there. I was on council. Judy Carr was there, you were there, I was there.
For the fields.
Yeah, and they took us all
Okay.
around the place.
but that was just the
We had a
recreation
drive there as
department.
part of the budget committee. We didn't get a vehicle. You guys rate.
Yeah, but we could just ask them to, you
Yes.
know,
The town bus, it might convince us to allocate more money for the town bus.
yeah. I mean, because they have a few, and usually by that time, too, their summer program is winding down, too, so they're not using it for field trips, and it's more readily available.
So let me see what I can
Yeah.
come up with for dates. And
It's a town vehicle,
Um,
I mean, we're,
I have a question on when we want to meet. I've heard different things from different people. I know Al has a problem getting here for meetings before 7 o'clock at night. A couple of people work full-time, so it is kind of a crunch. Judy, I know you're available most of the time, and Roseanne and Russ. How about
Anything
you?
after 6 PM,
6 PM is the best time?
anything after 6,
Yeah.
really, I mean, anything after 5:30, but 6 to be
Yeah.
safe.
yeah.
Okay. Tony, do you have a preference?
I'm pretty flexible, as long as I, can plan on it.
Yeah, so we could, I mean, I think we could do 7 to accommodate Al, especially, you know, he's with the school board and his expertise with his line of work. I'd like to have him here, so.
Well,
we
you
could-
still on Mondays on the budget committee usually, if you're gonna have a meeting? And the school
Yeah.
board's usually Thursday,
Yeah,
Saying council's Wednesday.
council's Wednesday.
Tuesdays,
No, assuming we don't wanna
planning
do
board.
Fridays.
Or off,
Tuesday.
or off
Tuesdays,
weeks.
planning board.
Yeah, so maybe off
So
weeks.
we
So we would
can't,
have to do a Tuesday that's not a planning board night.
right.
So we could still do a Tuesday, but not a planning board Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe if you can figure out what those Tuesdays are, that's
Yeah.
at least our best opportunity for meeting.
So we're what,
dates.
the second Tuesday of each? I always get
Planning
mixed up.
board is the second.
Tuesday of each,
And the council's
month,
the second,
First
and
and
the first and the
third.
third
a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And the school board is twice a year, twice a month?
Yeah.
Twice a year.
First and third.
First and third for them as well.
yeah, they've been meeting every week lately.
They've been,
Really?
yeah, regularly.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So did the CIP for a while last year with the school.
Oh, I know.
Well, we might have to do that again. so-
Yeah.
But we're flexible.
I think next year we'll probably start in June.
You said that last year.
I know, but.
We were going to start in April.
We were going to start, I mean, we were having the darndest time trying to get enough people to
Well-
come. Everybody was either vacation or had other family commitments and just, we
Okay.
couldn't. We started this 3 weeks ago.
At least.
Yeah, if not
At least.
earlier.
I had to work travel for a meeting. They voted me in while I wasn't there.
See what happens? The other thing I want to,
I won't make that mistake
a
again.
couple of you had difficulties with Meeting Doodle. Tony, your computer for some, it did come through.
Yeah, it went through, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know if there was anyone else that was
my
struggling
phone,
with
Got my
that.
response right.
Yeah, it was
I
weird
hope.
at
Yeah.
first.
Did
Is
mine
that-
come in okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Alright.
So you're
Those
comfortable with that
alternates
venue?
that were just,
Yeah, well, the new people and, yeah.
I just like it with the email and it has like 2 or 3 dates and can you make it?
Yeah, it makes it a
But I-
lot,
but
it
I-
makes it
I
a lot
did it. She
easier
got
to
my
track it.
response, Yeah.
Because I would have to do my own little spreadsheet and do
Yeah.
the same thing, so
then
it does
you
make
could
it a lot
just send out a
easier.
confirmation for
Yep.
availability. Okay.
Okay, all right, that's good,
So we can
great.
use Doodle again.
We'll use Doodle,
Doodle
okay?
again.
Great.
And the final product, we did that, the schedule, and nothing, no other business.
And we'll get these out tomorrow
Beautiful.
to the departments.
Yeah, and you'll let Steve know we need the letter from him to,
Well, he said I could draft it.
okay.
I think I
draft it,
drafted the
he can
last
sign
one.
it. Okay, good.
He's aware of it, and he knows that we're working on it.
So, well, welcome the new members, and you've got your packets, so you're all set, and I hope we were a little helpful tonight.
Great, thank you.
And so if we're all set, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.